anyway, Judge East, you are the judge of probate judge of Tallapoosa County in your first
Yes.
term.
Yes.
Looking at your resume, seasoned political operative. Tell me, when you was growing up, what's the first thing that got you interested in politics?
Well, my family's always been politically active, not just politically active, but socially active in Tallapoosa County. So, my great grandfather and my actual grandfather died before I was born, so it was like my grandfather, because he lived till I was around 10, and I spent every day with the county commissioner for a long time, for many years. And my mother was an elected county superintendent of education. My father was the mayor of my hometown. In addition to also just being involved in both of my parents being involved in every civic organization that you can imagine, from the Boy Scouts to church groups, that type thing. And so our family, while we do have those few political people who are involved in political offices, they've all been involved in Tallapoosa County and in trying to make Tallapoosa County a better place to live and raise a family. And so
you have some deep ties to the community.
Yeah. We're best I can tell, our family moved to Tallapoosa County. My great grandmother's, I guess, grandfather or great grandfather fought in the War of 1812 and was given 10,000 acres on the Tallapoosa River when they opened Alabama for expansion. So we've been here since the early 1800s, and yeah. And so, but my family's just always been involved in local issues and those type things, and community driven organizations, be them political or apolitical. And so from a young age, we were always engaged in different things with our church and with, just civic organizations. So it's just something that I've always been interested in. And then, like I said, I've had some family members that were also in political office in Tallapoosa County. So it's always been something important to our family.
Hey, the thing that got me the most interested in it when I was a little kid was, it still fascinates me today, that I just am like entranced watching it, is the vote returns. I will not miss one of them that comes across the screens.
Well, it helps a lot if you win.
Yeah, that helps you watch them.
It's a lot more entertaining if your person wins, but and I haven't been on both sides of that personally. I've only won personally, but I've been on both sides of it as a professional. It's a little more heartbreaking if somebody that you really believe in and that you really think is a good person loses. But at the end of the day, that's what democracy is about. We are allowed to pick and choose our representatives, and then our government, will reflect how good a choice we made.
So I said you went to Troy State, and then you got out into the field. I mean, tell me about what got you into this, being a political consultant, and what's it like? Tell me about running a campaign. What's it like?
So it's like nothing else I've ever done. It's very the schedule is so hectic. But so I was involved while I was in college, and got involved in several races, and have been involved in races ever since. All over the country, really. The reason I was a political science major wasn't necessarily because I thought that was a major that would lead to great prosperity, or it's not it's not like going to law school or becoming a doctor, right? Where there's, at the end of the rainbow, what your vocation is going to be. Political science is a little more open-ended than that, but it was what I was interested in. And so I found, originally I had chosen vocations in college to pursue that I thought would be more financially rewarding at the end. And I struggled with that because I just wasn't interested in learning those things. So I said, well, look, I'm interested in politics. I'll become a political science major. And I did. And then I flourished because even though the political science and maybe being a political professional that don't really go hand in hand very much, being interested in the subject matter allowed me to flourish and succeed in school. And so, I did a few other things when I finished, but essentially that was what I was interested in. And if somebody was going to pay me to do it, then I was happy with that. And so I loved my job. I worked with several nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and then also, well, it would be a nonprofit like the National Rifle Association, among others, Republican Attorneys General Association. And, you know, I met some really good people, and I still have some lifelong friends from those endeavors. But my ultimate goal was to always come back to Tallapoosa County. I worked, like I said, all over the country, and I loved what I did. I loved what I did, and I've made lifelong friends that I will have the rest of my life in doing that and working in, like I said, conservative and nonprofit and some political campaigns. But my heart's always been in Tallapoosa County, Alabama. That's my dad's deceased, and my mother at the time was a widow. She's since remarried, and so my brother lives in New York, and my sister lives in Georgia. And so, you know, I saw an opportunity to serve, and I'm happy I made that choice. There were some sacrifices, both financially and, you know, professionally. I liked my job a lot, but our power is blinking, by the way. I told you, we've had horrible lightning storms here.
Yeah.
And so my power was out this morning at the house, so I just had to put on whatever I had clean and that was out and go on. But anyway, so my heart was always in Tallapoosa County, and I wanted to come back to Tallapoosa County when I saw an opportunity to serve. But I thought I could be successful and be useful to the people who live here. You know, I've always said, I was asked on the TV recently, local television, you know, about it. And what I always tell people is that I grew up with so many people, and I can name names that nobody would ever know that weren't from my little small town. I'm from currently the smallest, well, technically the smallest functioning government in Tallapoosa County, the smallest town that still has a functioning government. And so, but my little corner of the world, there's just so many people that I can name that I admire, both personally, professionally, otherwise, that I think are just as beyond reproach and as good a human beings as there have ever existed. And nobody will ever know their names that didn't grow up with them. They're not famous. But if I can serve those people and they see fit, they think that I'm fit enough to do the job that I do, then that to me is worth any amount of money. And so the second that I don't feel that I can live up to the expectations of those people or do the type of job that I think those type of people, the people that I consider, you know, pillars of our community, the second that I can't do that job for them, then I'll go do something else. It would be embarrassing to my family to continue to do it if I didn't feel like I can do a good job or have done a good job. And so, you know, that fulfillment is enough for me. Not that, look, I live in a small little, I live in my grandparents' house in Newside, Alabama. I don't have a lot of needs. I drive a 2005 Honda Pilot. I don't need, you know, I don't have a lot of needs. I'm not a materialist. I don't need a lot of things. That type of adulation or that type of, you know, when somebody pats you on the back and says, hey, I just really appreciate the job you're doing, and that's somebody who you care about, that for me is enough. And so, you know, I like coming to work every day, and I like my job. And so I think I've done a decent job. I plan to keep doing it.
So let me ask you a tough question. That's not really tough. It's kind of have fun. I've had fun with you. I'm pretty good friends with Troy King.
Okay.
That race between him and Marshall was pretty rough.
Yeah. I mean, I'm friends with Angie, who ran Troy's campaign. I mean, I don't think it was rough from our standpoint. I mean, it was rough for Steve. It was rough for Troy. I'm talking about from a professional standpoint. We have a job to do. Certainly it gets personal sometimes, or we take it personally because we care about our job, right? If you care about your job, you take it personally. And so, you know, we took, you know, everybody like Angie or me or people like us, we take things personally. But, you know, at the end of the day, when we step back and say, you know, we were doing a job and we believed in what we were doing and believed that we were doing the best thing for Alabama, whether you were on the winner or losing side there. And so, yeah, it was tough. You know, I stayed, you know, I got my involvement reduced as I decided to run for this job. So that was in the same election cycle. And so I reduced my role there substantially in order to run myself. I actually did maintain a job there just so I could have some income. And I had built most of their grassroots, most of their contacts around the state. So they just kept me on retainer so that when they were going to Jackson County and they would say, okay, who are our people in Jackson County that we can rely on? I'd say here's A, B, C, D, here's their phone number, tell them I said call you, and
Oh, nice.
and go there. So my role was very, very limited in the last, that primary was in June. I qualified on January 3rd. So my role for the last 6 months was very limited, but I was there for the first 6 months. And I still consider Steve a friend. I think he's a incredibly intelligent person. I do not always agree with him on everything, but I tell people all the time, if you agree with somebody all the time, then you need to take a moment of self-reflection, because you shouldn't agree with somebody all the time. You're not a deep thinker. You're not agree with somebody all the time, but I agree with Steve a lot, but he's a super, super intelligent person, and I still consider him a friend.
So as probate judges, they handle like wills in states and fishing and hunting license. Is there any issues that they have influence over, or they can adjust, or is it just kind of like?
Well, so
like in Blount County, the probate judge is the president of the commission. So,
right, there's a few of those left. That's in the Constitution of 1901. That most counties have abolished it. I want to say there's around 12 to 14 counties left, if that's the case, out of 68 probate judges, 67 counties. We, in a lot of ways, it's a managerial thing. We also, we do have to have sound judgment when it comes to our court proceedings, and the good thing being that if we make a mistake there, that the decisions we make are reviewable. But the probate judge's office is made to be a common person's court, right? It's made to be a lay person's court. It's made to be where you can get redress on issues that would not rise to the level of a circuit or district court. And so there's some judgment, of course, and then there's also managing people, managing budgets. How we invest the capital that the citizens of our counties, in this case Tallapoosa County, choose to make available to us, to be good stewards of that money. So we have, it's not like I'm handed a budget and told what to do with it. I'm handed a budget, or I hand in a budget and say, here's what I'd like to do, here's what it'll cost. But we try to be conservative with our budgeting, and even with our budgeting, we don't, one of the things that bothers me in government a lot is you see people say, well, okay, or you're allocated by the legislature or somebody else $10,000 for something. And then if it's a month before your next budget's due and you spent $2,000, like, man, I got to spend $8,000 on this hammer, or they're not going to give me the $10,000 back. We just send it. If we have extra money, we send it back. We try to be honest and good stewards with our county commission, our county administrator, with the resources that we have. And so we don't buy things we don't need. And instead of rushing to say, oh, what if they cut our budget if we don't, that's not how you would budget in your personal life. And that's not how we budget. And I feel like that by doing that for the last 5 years and being honest about what we need and don't need, that when I go tell them I need something, I don't have a problem, because they know I'm being honest with them and I'm not going to waste their money. And so, that's the way we do things, and I'm pleased with that. I don't want to do it any other way. I feel like, part of the problem with government sometimes is that it's always been done a certain way, and that's the way we have to keep doing it. And I don't feel like we have to do it that way. And so, we make decisions with our budget. We make decisions with our recording department, how we handle our archives, who our software providers are, and how they handle things with regards to, in my case, car tags. That's not the case in every county. Most of the counties surrounding us, car tags are handled by the revenue commissioners, but in Tallapoosa County, they're handled by the probate judges. And it's about 50-50 around the state. That number fluctuates one way or the other, but it's ballpark about half are handled by revenue commissioners.
Okay, just a couple more questions for you. And I'll take something when we stop officially recording too. I'll have to edit this part right here. But anyway, so how do you, mid-30s, late 30s? I got boo boo. I got. Ah. Hey, Tal.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Power come on.
Anyway, our power is going on and on and on,
Okay.
and light.
I've got 2 more questions.
Okay, go for it.
How are you? Mid, late 30s?
I turned 39 a little over a month ago.
Okay. So going for your second term as probate judge, deep ties to community, deep political ties. Can you see a 52-year-old Governor East?
Well, I don't ever want to say I don't have any other ambitions. I just don't know. I know this. I like my job. I like working and living in Tallapoosa County. Any decision I make otherwise will have to trump those things. And so I don't know, but I don't intend to do anything immediately. I do plan to run. I am running for reelection. I've already got a committee together, and we're not raising a lot of money, but we're waiting to see who actually qualifies, before I start asking for more money and such. But I'm happy with my job. And then I don't want to ever rule anything out, but I don't have anything on the horizon that I'm eyeballing. So,
Okay. Yeah, I hear some people might not run again. So,
well,
Judge
my
East,
dad
thanks.
was a postman. My mom was a school teacher. I don't know. I
Oh.
don't have enough money to be a U.S. senator, so somebody better come along with a real big checkbook.
Yeah, I'm sure those races are probably getting the double digits in millions there. Thanks a lot, Judge East, for this opportunity to interview you today. It's been great talking to you, and glad to make another contact with one of our elected officials.
No problem. And